Oh, no, did you get the bit where are you recording now?
Yeah. Now we're in the segment of
viewers.
about men and women. We've just done politics, and now we're doing, you know.
All right. Yeah, I was late because I was in town, and I self-identified as Karen Soccer Mum and had to speak to the manager at the hardware store. There was I sensed a microaggression, sensed some transphobia, and people like me don't have a voice. People like me don't have a voice. They said, "Sorry, mate," and I said, "How dare you? How dare you oppress me with your patriarchal, gender realist expectations, you bigot."
Was this in Bogantown? Bogandale, sorry.
Yeah.
Bogensdale.
Bougainville. Oh, it's a nice part of the world.
Bougainville.
Yeah, and I think feminism is declining. I just think it is. I think we've reached peak feminism probably 5 years ago, and I think now that my inner dolphin is telling me that us sisters, we're going to have to get ready for the collapse. You know, the patriarchy is just like a lemming to the inevitable. You know, they're like lemmings. The patriarchy, they're just evil, and feminism is slowly starting to erode. I think. For example, Gamergate. There was feminist activists that came into the gaming community, saying, "Well, you should make things more female friendly and tail them more to feminists."
Yeah.
And there was a big backlash because not many women play. The majority of gamers are men and boys, and there was a big backlash. And I think they were so unaccustomed to being stood up to that it was like, whoa, had to bring the patriarchy into doing it. And the same thing with, I think it was Julia Beck, she a lesbian feminist. She had some cushy job somewhere and was kicked out by, called a TERF by these trans people in the job. And she went back to the Heritage Foundation, the patriarchy. By the way, there's 3 genders, you know, male, female, and lesbian or whatever, lesbian feminist.
Oh.
I think there's still, and really? Julie Bindel did it too, got arseholed by the trans community, and she goes back to the patriarchy and still says, oh, there's still a patriarchy, and I'm thinking, well, all right, let me see it. Let me see the patriarchy. But you see the thing, they think men are naturally evil. That's the whole premise of feminism, and that men have to do something about it to solve women's problems.
Yeah.
They come back to the patriarchy. It's beautiful, and it's just and now they've just been knocked off their perch. They've been demoted by the trans movement. Sisters, brothers, other non-binary, gender non-conforming, pansexual, polysexual creatures in arms.
I don't know, you sit in class and then they say feminism, and there's like many different types, and this was at the beginning, probably 10 years ago. That was the idea I got, that all the different theories, like sociology is a thing where there's no real answers because it's society, you know, it's a whole mess of, so we're just going to try and generalize about things, label things, but you can't label things. That's kind of the idea. And I think that these new lot that come in every year, they're just forgotten. And then this group were just suddenly there. One girl was just from, well, she looked like a girl. I don't know what she was. She was from a writing course. So she had never done a sociology course. Suddenly she's sitting in gender studies, writing major, going angry as fuck about what we're allowed to talk about in class. Like, it was just different. So, I mean, I don't know what to expect. I'd like to go back. I'm a little bit, I don't know if it's laziness or, you know, tiredness or whatever, because, you know, I'm a woman with children, so I'm that kind of woman. Maybe there's different kinds of women. I don't know, but I'm the kind that, well, I've had kids, but I've also been, you know, told that men, I don't know, not told. I've experienced men, Australian men. I know that I choose certain types. I'm a certain kind of woman that, you know, used to be cute when I was in high school. So I got kind of idiots that just try and date, go, do you want to go out with me? But they were kind of bogans or whatever.
Were they alpha male?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say alpha male. I'll just say, well, yeah, a couple of the alpha males, they're just sportos. They're just completely vacant in their head. They look good. They're fit.
Oh, the jocks.
Yeah. That's what an alpha male really
is. Not Chad
is.
Thundercock
sort of.
or anything.
Yeah, the Chad.
Or Fabio.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chad Thundercock. I think, I don't know if
well, they're no
Danny on.
Well, if they're weak, if they're kind of an empty vessel, that, I don't know. I mean, yeah, generalizing, that's sort of the problem. So like women, I don't know, I think I'm a typical woman. So like the kind of man, I'd go out with the jock that all the girls are fainting over, and you kiss them or whatever, then you go to have a conversation and they're just like, oh, I don't know, what do you like, football or whatever? And you're like,
how hilarious would that be?
And they get good grades too, but they don't care about knowledge or have any passions. It's just they're on this team. But I don't know. I mean, at the same time, when they're with their mates, they're fun. Like now I look at men and boys, and I went to my 20-year reunion and we all just talked about, I wish we were this old, and we just appreciate conversation and, just that life's pointless and fun, and I don't know,
How hilarious would it be if Thundercocks was a football team? How hilarious would that be?
They'd be like
the Saint Thundercock.
Roosters.
All called Chad.
That'd be very sexually kind of aggressive. Like I like reading. Well, the real feminism is Simone de Beauvoir and Camille Paglia, that just talks about history. When we were animals, now we're human. For men, it is. They're saying it is all about the penis. It is all like they strive through history for their women, and if they didn't have women, somehow it comes back to women that they're actually fighting for, or fighting against other men, to posture themselves. Even though they kind of rule in one way, it's like women are ruling over them, and starting to really think about that. Oh, not really, that's a simple idea, but it seems to permeate everything, that women are really fucking over men in an emotional, mental, mysterious way. But then, well, men are, I don't know if there's a patriarchy. That who cares if the richest are men? Rich people aren't really in power anymore. It's media and the elite who are at university, and now there's more women at university and more women doctors and lawyers, and I don't know about lawyers. Engineers are still men, and all the trades, as much as, they're happy to let in women. Yeah.
Because I remember I was saying earlier, like, I've got no dog in any fight.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about the left, and I've been thinking about the right. Because remember I said in that first video, I left the left, a refugee from the left. But I didn't like the right much, because they were weak. And
well, it's conservative, do you think?
Yeah, they're kind of castrated now.
And
conservatives about staying the same and keeping the values and being
small government, lower taxes, family, God, country, which sounds fine, but just the boring, dry way they go about it. And it's quite exclusive, little old brown shoe club, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Not really appealing. And they're and you see the behaviour of conservative governments like Bojo and ScoMo, or Slow-Mo, what do they call him? Smoko.
Yeah, he seems like the worst, doesn't he? He's
they
got
almost
that
want to be
Christian
socialists
thing,
themselves. They're conservatives, and they almost want this, what would you call it? A slavery-centric socialism. Orange Man Bad was an anomaly, like a real freak, like a populist, like nationalist, bring all the companies back home. What are we going to do about the religion of peace? We're going to build a wall, like all these things in the Democrats were saying in the 90s, basically. But now it's gone full retard with intersectionality. And you imagine all the Republicans and like the Liberals here, they just want this slavery-centric socialism. They're as keen as possible. There was that, you're talking about that Reuben, there was another fella on PragerU, Wilcox. I think they call him Will Cox. He was saying, okay, you know, man's role is to man up and marry and be a provider, and the wife is the recipient, and to be chivalrous. You know, that's what they want. They want this chivalrous socialism because they're not railing against it. Smoko's not doing anything about any of the progressivism. That's just eating away. Orange Man Bad signed an executive order to get rid of critical race theory in universities, but it's not happening here because they're all.
I just don't think you
they
can
want
do
slavery. That. They'll realise that, you know, like what's white countries? They're like the 10% of the entire world population. And what the heck, you know, we've just got fat, lazy, and we're in decline and fighting each other. You know, it's eating, not being invaded. We're just eating ourselves up within. Fighting ourselves within, and that's how a lot of empires decline, and then it becomes weak, and then the next big booted thug comes in, kicks the door in and say, all right, bitches, you know, and all right, you blokes out the back, all right, bitches, there's a tea towel, there's a broom, and
because they are linked.
They're into it. They're chivalrous socialism is what I call it. And when I say feminism's dead, is dying, is because I think there's more people railing against it. I call it the inexhaustible murmur. That you had your pushback on Gamergate, and then you had like Melinda Gates doing, you know, videos on the gender wage gap and women working in big tech. You know, not enough women executives. All right, work the fucking 80 hours a week then. And like this has just happened so much, and it's just too much of a shock to the system where a woman would marry in her 20s at her peak beauty and her peak fertility, and she would do it. So it wasn't for me, that lifestyle, because it's just like, saw my parents and saw a lot of people around that age. Oh, it was freaking horrible. Because man goes out to work at a shit job, maybe a gold watch after 40 years, and just gets bowel cancer and dies. And she just sits there, you know, going to church and working at the op shop and, you know, held it up as a real brave member of the community. You think, what a lot of shit, you know?
Oh, yeah. So you say you've left the left, but there's no right to go to. To me, it's like, I don't want to have labels, but I suppose you kind of have to explain things. So it's like, if there is a left, then I want to take it back. So, you know, because they bully you, and the bullies are, I don't know, like the politics and the feminism seems to be linked, because like a lot of Australians are suffering. A lot of men in their way is about suicide, you know, addiction, incarceration, violence against them from other men, and I mean women violence, I guess, against them as in withholding children.
There's no guidebook, and even if there was government help, say with domestic violence or any of that garbage, the government would make a meal of it anyway. They would just pour, you know, heaps of money into it, and would just get worse. Just exposed to be this big bloody shit show. Because frankly, you know, women can't be criticised. It's just, you just can't do it. It won't happen. But men could be criticised all the time. They could be criticised all the time. I accidentally had turned on the ABC the other day. I missed the station and got on the ABC, and I talked about these women's sports commentators, and the female presenter said, now, tell me about the highlights and the lowlights. And the presenter said, oh, well, in sports commentating, there was plenty of lowlights. There was, you guessed it, men talking over me, and then men taking my ideas and saying, gee, we'll use Shelley's idea and give it to Ian. You know, what the fuck? The same thing. That's why I'm thinking it's declining, because they can't get past that. They've got that same shtick that they just can't stop. And I just thought, classic. Anytime I just want to hear a bit of male bashing, I'll just turn on the ABC. And there it is again, you know. It started, here's my rant. I remember as a kid, maybe late 70s, they started on James Bond. They started on him. There was just feminist agitators, and it gets in the media about, oh, James Bond, you know, if you count all the women he's conquered or raped or, you know, in his movies, comes to like 42. And it's really, you know, where everybody wanted to be James Bond. It was like suave, a smooth assassin, you know, and chivalrous to women, songs they put out. What the heck, you know, you risk your life for people. The least you can do is just get a, you know, bit of intimacy. Not condoning rape or anything like that.
But it's entertainment, isn't it?
It's entertainment. It's entertainment. They started bashing that. Then it started changing. It started changing from.
So we have to be entertained by it. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm. That's my male part.
You're in the middle.
I'm oppressing you.
You're in the middle.
Falling down in your chair. I'm oppressing you so much. I'll become.
It's hard to do a rant here when if it wasn't.
And then they said spokesperson.
If it was interrupted.
But then I'll have a spokeswoman. So the dehumanising is just going and going on and on and on. And I've noticed it. I was thinking today, what can I talk about tonight? Because I don't have that university education. I'm not up with a lot of the books, anything like that, or the particular lines of philosophy or education. I'm not good at it, but I have just lived my life with my just looking around, just looking at observing things. And it's funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. Creepy male feminists, you know, watch this TED talk. There's this creepy male feminist. And of course, he's just got soy running through his veins. Why radical feminism is good for men. And I listened to him and I just thought, you poor pathetic little simp. Like he was bullied as a kid and so we had to just turn to feminism. Instead of just thinking, well, maybe I'll go somewhere where I'm not bullied. If I can't fight or I can't do it, I'll just go there. Or I'll just try and learn that language. I'll try and put up with it, learn some intestinal fortitude.
Yeah, there seems to be no alternative at that time for boys and men. Like it's all decided by some policymaker who did gender studies. And they're...
Yeah. Well, even nature is oppressing women. Like, oh, look at my chickens. I got 3 older chickens and there's 2 young chickens and the 2 baby chicks. I'll throw some grain out at one end of the yard. The 3 old chooks will go for it first. Go up the other end for the 2 single mothers. The 3 old chooks will just come and beat the shit out of them and deny single mothers and their kids food.
That's the difference.
It's females doing it to other females. And
humans, we're humans and they're animals.
Patriarchy.
That's what the difference should be, that we're humans with a biology. So we're somehow attached to our biology, which is nature. And that's, that's why I like reading, Camille Paglia. She's just kind of talking about the 1949 Second Sex book, which goes from nature then into humans and how we strive past being an animal. And now we're going back to like just talking about, men. No, I mean, I don't think even feminists are doing this because it's all socially constructed, but that's the radical feminists. There's different kinds of feminism. Radical feminism and liberal feminism were the 2 main ones. And I would always think, liberal feminism is the shit, except it's all been done. So it's gone. The liberal feminism was about equality, so they went through all the laws, but I guess now they're saying we've still got to fix the laws, but then that's what the argument is about. There's no more laws to fix. It's all just how you're made to feel. This ad I saw about periods, I couldn't believe it. They just go, as girls and women, we've been made to feel shame about our periods. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? I've been watching period ads from the 80s and 90s. They show it in its gory details, sort of, they show the blood as blue. And then I think later they Yeah, just so people aren't grossed out because they're trying to sell a product, I guess. But maybe it is a little bit gross, you know, it is nature, it is that animal side, but we're not made to feel. That's maybe the Catholics did it to us, or maybe our uptight mothers or whoever told us not to talk about periods. Is it their fault? Are they the patriarchy? But we're the ones that took it on, you know, like I know everything is in my head. I've been conditioned, but you own your own head. This is my brain. And
well, when you've been oppressed by the patriarchy and you're made to feel that just keeps the blame going and stops looking at themselves. And again, patriarchy, you better do something about my feelings.
Yeah.
Which means more money. Which
so
means
it's not going to work.
Beta male orbiters are the net providers.
Beta male, yeah. Well,
rather providers, yeah. Beta males and
beta providers.
And women are the recipients. And I think what I observe, I think people are just slowly realising that, and young people, they're just not going to marry. I think the Chinese surprises played havoc with gold diggers and a lot of that sort of extraction of resources from men. Of course, domestic violence just exploded. But
well, that was the patriarchy, because you could only survive. You could only survive unless you were married, or a maid, or a prostitute. So I think that's this. The book I'm trying to give out to people. That was the patriarchy. Women, and she would talk about only the Western culture. Of course, all the Eastern, they're still. They're kind of just coming out of it. So we should kind of celebrate every time, India or whatever, show how the women are being educated, or they have a choice in how many babies they have or whatever. But we've done that. So, yeah, I agree about feminism. It's done, and now it's up to us.
Yeah, and it's done to death. It's done to death.
But do you think it's about individualism? Because my cousin was saying, my cousin did this post, and see, he's an educated person. Even though I've been to uni, I'm still an outsider because I don't know this language or this way of thinking that they're meant to have. Like, I'm kind of in the dark. And so he comes out, okay, the answer is individualism is the problem, is the cause of all of our. I'm just thinking, I really don't think that's true, because we need individualism. We need to be responsible for ourselves. He's really involved in the Aboriginal communities, and that's, it's a lovely idea that they live as a tribe, but that's not us. I don't know. We're just from Europe. There's a culmination of European values and Eastern as well. There's a lot of Asian types. Yeah,
because you got individuals like me. I suppose I'd call myself an individualist if I had to have a label. Where I think, like I said, both sides of politics are cucks. They want is slavery now. It's always been about slavery anyway for all of us. We're all been slaves. And
yeah, I've always tried to avoid slavery. Except,
in a collective, like bleating along with Black Lives Matter or whatever cause it is. I do not trust any of their motives, any of their agendas. I was in filmmaking for a while, and it was fine. There was female filmmakers, filmmakers of every sort, every shape. Arabic women that were in this film group in Melbourne, and now. The bloke running it is Greek, like an old-style Greek communist, probably about my age, like your communist Greek bloke. Yeah, free stuff, yay! Equality, yay! Human rights, yay! The old stop uranium mining, stop poisoning the oceans, and stop chopping bloody trees down. I'm all for that. That's sort of leftism, but then you get all these comments. Oh, how come all the white males are getting all the film grants? And I'm thinking. They're dangling the bait here, dangling the bait. And I thought, no, fuck you. I'll just leave the group. Bugger it. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just come when the retardation's over. Like, is it obvious if you work fucking hard that you'll get somewhere in this country? White males getting the grants, maybe they're the ones that put the hours in, sit down and think about it.
Or it's just that group.
The entitlement of it is unbelievable.
each group seems to just have a couple of loud, and then to me they're kind of bullies. I don't know. I mean, that's what I saw in Trump. It's interesting how some of us either went to Trumpism or, you know, the opposite, when his power just sort of left him. It was just like symbolic, this power that he had. And I don't know if he still has it. People are saying, you know, he's going to sit in the wings. I just think it's gone now. And his type of speaking, to me, it's sort of like their way of speaking, because our life is ours. Bill Burr said it when Trump got in and all the Hollywood types are crying. And he just goes, well, you're gonna be the one that makes that sandwich in the morning. You know, you're gonna do it, not Obama or Trump. That's you. You're gonna feed yourself. And you just go, wow, like comedians can just sort of sum it up, because they're out there in the shit of society, having to stand up, and they're always thinking about the worst of us and what's funny about it, but it's kind of probably depressing too. They seem to be the most, you know, like, but Norman Gunston, he had horrible depression. I don't know if it was clinical or...
Yeah, but they're just actors. I mean,
yeah,
they're not the brightest.
Oh. Well, I've been watching
not
a
the
lot
brightest
of
peanuts in the turd. They are freaking dumb, and most actors are dumb. They are
the ones that
dumb.
are successful. Who's the one from Dallas Buyers Club? God, my memory's shit. Matthew McConaughey. He's written a book, and it's not that he's intelligent, but he got success not by luck. That's what a lot of people are starting to see with celebrities like Joe Rogan. They're very disciplined. They've got a certain set of skills, and probably the parenting they had and what they did with it, and probably being American. I don't know. Some Australians are very highly. There's a lot of Australian actors over there that they seem to love the kind of openness of an Australian actor. That's, yeah, maybe they're a lot of fun. I don't know. But yeah. So you said you had notes about
Yeah.
I could look at our whole.
For an ad break. For all self-respecting men, boycott Procter & Gamble products, specifically Gillette. Gillette made misandrist commercials. Used to be the best a man could get, but now it's just like the best a soy boy can get. And it was quite a thing, and like, stop beating women, you know, all that line of barbecues. Since then, the backlash against all that woke bullshit, because the ads were directed by a Melbourne feminist. Where else?
Oh.
$8 million crash.
Really?
Loss in sales for Procter & Gamble since that Gillette wokeism.
Was it 8 million?
Backlash.
Yeah. I thought it might have been 8 billion, maybe.
8 billion.
8 billion.
They would have been sitting there going, oh, what's popular? You know, social justice, that's popular. Feminism, that's popular. Let's wind it into our ads, like the period ads, which are always kind of an embarrassment. I mean, all advertising, that's the same, you know, like being a Gen X. We hated advertising and rebelled. So who knows what the elitists are doing now when they're selling out to make an ad for a shaving product for men.
Yeah, it was something about this fella transitioning. Of course, they were POCs, you know, very politically correct. And there's dad with soy running through his veins, and the son, my first shave. Oh my God! Just shut up and just show somebody shaving. You don't have to put a bloody political idea, you know, have a political agenda from it.
But that's probably what angers people the most. Just that a corporation is
never attack your own base, your consumer base.
But they probably assumed that men were going to like it. So do they not know their own base, Troy? That if it's just bizarre how like they mustn't know men if they think or come up with an ad campaign like this, and then it loses all this money because people felt manipulated or that it wasn't a true representation of men these days. Maybe just the elitist ones, inner city, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, they had it coming, didn't they?
Yeah, but like Perry just said, they hired a Melbourne feminist to make that ad. But was it an American ad? It seems like it's so long ago.
Their consumer base obviously is men, you know, because obviously we grow more hair than women, so obviously we need to shave more than they do.
Yeah, so they had to appeal to men, and they thought that I guess it's like degrading men, because I guess it's suggesting that men are violent. I'm trying to remember what the ads were. Was it about that thing, oh, boys will be boys, you know, the boy pushed over the girl and they were watching out the window? Was that the ad? This boy pushed a girl over.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Have you ever heard of Duckman before?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I didn't watch it either, but a friend of mine showed it on his profile. You know, came off my timeline, and it had in there, you know, it was 1994 to 1997, and Jason Alexander was Duckman, and
yeah, I've heard of it. Was it a movie or TV?
Cartoon, and when he was watching TV. You know, like shit came on, like you know, that the word boysenberry's been banned until, you know, a female equivalent, you know, obviously, you know, comes up. You know, that this woman is suing this guy for, you know, referring to his manhole.
Oh, that was 94. Yeah.
94 to 97. And it was pretty much, you know, I basically see it as, you know, what's it called? Equality at all costs mentality.
Yeah. So they were making fun of it back then, and it wasn't so serious, but people were doing it. So we were just, I'm trying to remember, 94, I was 20. And I was just in a fucking hole of black bullshit. And then I went to Rock and Roll High School. Perry's heard of Rock and Roll High School. So that was a real promotion of girls in music. And we had, you know, Nirvana had just gone, but Hole and a lot of girl bands were coming up.
Didn't Kim Gordon donate a bass there? From Sonic Youth?
Oh, yeah, Sonic Youth were great when they came. But
the other example that was on the TV that he was watching was that the word Hebrew has now been changed to Weebrew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's... I think I remember Wasn't there a movie called Duckman? I'm sure of it.
I'm sure that'll really help with the oppression. But they haven't stopped Manhunt or Manhandle. That seemed to stay there.
Well, like, we're so upset about it. Maybe it's just the same as that mid-90s thing, you know, that happened. And it's just happening again. And then there was that period in between. It's interesting. Troy, would you be you're not a millennial, are you? Or you are?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, I love watching Friendly Geordies. Friendly Geordies kind of, because it's like your parents, your mum's probably just a bit older than me. They weren't boomers, your parents, but then...
Well, they are boomers.
Yeah, because Gen X had kids later, but then that's such a generalisation. I just feel like I'm the Gen X for the early 90s, but then Perry seems to have that Gen X quality of the 80s.
Well, I think that was the last great generation, the generation before mine.
What was that?
Generation X.
Yeah.
Generation X? Yeah. Yeah, because Z is the current one. That's right. Yeah, Generation X.
Friendly Geordies kind of makes fun of his own, or he sort of makes fun of a lot of different groups, because he's just trying to be, I guess he's trying to be as real as he can be. Trying to.
Well, I think, the reason I'm not at all proud to be, in the millennial generation, because obviously, I don't want to be associated, obviously, with all the baggage that goes with it, of course.
But it's like you grew up in these decades, because this woke stuff has only been around for 5 years, like where it's really ramped up. So, I mean, we can listen to all the Brett Weinstein and different Joe Rogan videos to kind of listen to the different ideas of what's happening and what happened and how things happen.
Hey guys, would you agree with me that the Drum and Q&A are the worst programs on the ABC?
Well, Q&A's, yeah, ridiculous.
The most god awful.
I don't think I ever saw the Drum.
Yeah, no, I would not recommend.
But I don't know, I listened to the ABC on the radio. What's happened to, we had John Fane being replaced by Jacinta. Is it Jacinta?
Yeah, John Fane did it for years.
But the new woman that took over, she's quite good. I mean, I guess it had to be a woman, like, I'm not saying it had to be, but you can see how, if they've had John Fane for decades and then, I don't know. But anyway.
He only retired, John Fane, like 2019, didn't he? Or something? Like, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, no, yeah, only a year or so. But I don't know, like, he had to be really careful and now, the woman, she's smart enough, and then she really questions people. I guess it seems to work because she
I'm trying to think of the main woman that does radio, and sometimes she is on ABC TV, and I should know who she is, but I've just drawn a blank for some reason.
Maybe I wake up too late, and when the kids go back to school, I'll turn it on at 8 in the morning, and she'll be there again. But because she does say, and she'll read out, and like John Fane did, she'll read out the negative comments and the positive, and she's always going to be a bit biased because she's just human, but she's not obviously being a feminist. She'll kind of even put them down, if it's too generalizing, if it's too black and white. And then when the kind of, the whingy white males ring up, they're just like, One Nation voters. It's a little bit conspiratorial. She doesn't give him a chance. I mean, it just feels like it was a decade ago, but it was probably only last year when I was still living in the suburbs. It was like, it's a big mental asylum. You just...
Oh, yeah, I've just remembered her name, Virginia Trevoli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's been around for ages.
Yeah, it might not even be her. There's even I know that there's her. Yeah.
But yeah, Red Simons, he was pretty politically incorrect. Used to listen to him on the way to work. And he'd say, here in the ABC, it's all about raising awareness. We're all raising awareness here. And you just up the ante a bit more. And there was interview where there was a microaggression and, oh my God, the person got so drunk. And so they didn't renew his contract. And Fane had the same thing, had an interview. Because you can't expect to get it right all the time. And he was interviewing a disabled person, and they had skin blotches, and he made a bit of fun of that. And
really,
it was in poor taste, but gone.
Yeah, right.
And you can always guess. I've noticed this pattern happening whenever there's a man that just stuffs up a faux pas, or like Robert Doyle at Lord Mayor of Melbourne, a bit Schindler's List, and touches a woman on the leg or something like that. One of these Tuesday piss-ups at Town Hall, oh my God. I bet the replacement's got to be a woman. And sure enough, bang, straight in there.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they've all got to be discussed. Like that particular one, as a woman, I don't know. You feel like you are prey. So if a man comes and puts his hand on your leg, like this is what I feel like we should discuss. It's like men don't realize that women feel like prey, like in normal men, because most men are normal. But then you got these guys. Like, why would you think you could put your hand on someone's leg? I don't know I can't imagine you two ever doing that. It's just but quite a few men would do it. They've got that, there's something, either they've never been told, they've seen their dad do it, or they've seen men do it, and then it's just like, oh, she might like it if I did it. You know what I mean?
Well,
they don't know that women
do if you're in a relationship with her?
Or pissed. Yeah, you were saying being drunk. So, I mean, if a friend did it, and they were drunk, I mean, I've had lots of male friends. When I look back, I don't think that I communicated enough at all. I mean, I didn't communicate.
I mean, I don't think, there's anything wrong with touching her leg without permission if you're with her.
Well, what's the context? If you're just a friend, no.
But what's...
No, I mean, if you're with her in a relationship.
I would visualize, cutting it off, cutting the hand off with a fucking butcher's knife. No.
Well,
not jokingly. No, I wouldn't do it, but that's how angry I would feel someone.
Because I mean, I don't think it's so bad if you're in a relationship with her.
Oh, no.
Like I'd said,
not at all.
To me, that's, should be the only real, prerequisite, qualification thing. If you're not with her, in a relationship with her, then, you can't do it.
Well, there's another thing, like men think that you're flirting with them and they don't know any different. And I've realized, like, you don't, you're kind of conditioned to let guys believe anything because you're too afraid. Like, I'm thinking, why? It's not politeness, it's fear. What the hell are we afraid of to say to a guy? Don't do that. I don't want that.
Well, I mean, if she says don't touch my leg, don't touch my leg. But I'm just saying I don't really see touching someone's leg as, horrifyingly bad. But I wouldn't obviously, touch
I know what you mean.
Random girl's leg, right? If obviously I had a girlfriend, I'd touch her leg without asking her.
Yeah, and I guess another thing is if someone touched my leg and I said, don't do that, that's inappropriate. And then they just went, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry. There would be nothing else to do there. Like, but I don't have the confidence. There's something wrong where girls don't have the confidence to do that. So it's not men should know, maybe, boys should learn, but then girls have to learn a lot too. It's just insane where girls are just somehow taught. I think it's, an echo from the Catholic Church, which is a kind of a patriarchal place, if you're in it, I guess, because they say if you get pregnant, doesn't matter. They don't care why you got pregnant. You're obviously a slut, or they probably don't even think about it. How did she get pregnant? It's just abortion's wrong. She's going to have the baby. Women are mothers, that kind of. And I understand my dad had that thinking. He was a pro-life person. He just was a man, a very good man, very just, so lovely and nice. But he had those thoughts, about, and I guess, pregnancy and abortion, that's one of the things, like,
yeah, well, I just think that,
men can't get pregnant, women get pregnant so easily, and,
the further into obviously the pregnancy, then I think the more exceptional the circumstances have got to be, obviously for her to want to have the abortion, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I think that we just should prevent them, and that's all we should be talking about.
Yeah.
Not
well, there's the pill, isn't there? There's the pill I've heard. I think that's less. What's it called? That's going to less.
Yeah.
That's going to less extremes, isn't it? Like that's less drastic, I think, than a vasectomy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not permanent, and lots of girls are on the pill. I was on it for years and years.
Like
and you don't
I don't think it's such a
changes your hormones.
Take.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We don't talk about it. This is probably the problem. Like, it's almost like the pill doesn't exist because I've never heard anything about it. The girls just sort of assume they can have an abortion, and it's
guys wear
quite a horrific thing to go through. Or the morning after pill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not young. I think it's a young person's. I mean, the only reason why I don't hear about it is because I'm in a different world. I'm an older woman with kids. I've had my tubes tied, which is like, a miracle of medical.
Well, that's the female equivalent of me, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the only kind of sexism, when I was looking for an essay to do about the medical field, the main thing was that if a girl came in and wanted, I guess, female vasectomy is probably what it is, then the doctor would say, no, you're too young, you're going to want children, I don't want to do it. And it is his right to say that. But then the essays probably has good information in it about some doctors should take the risk and make them sign something that says they're not going to sue him later, because that's all it's about, him or her.
Yeah, well, Dave Chappelle called it, didn't he, back in 2004, with those, with that, what's it called? Permission contracts, consent contracts.
Yeah. Well, that's where it goes very extreme, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, in actual fact, it should just be that, well, you say, obviously, you're not comfortable, obviously, as soon as you're not comfortable, say when, you're no longer okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be having to ask
making a great point
through every single step.
Yeah. Well, he's being funny, but also making a great point, which is what comedians do. But the answer I see is that there's no real communication. And what are you doing sleeping with someone that you don't know enough? Because sex, I don't know, it's something fun. I think boys, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I'm kind of feeling, is that boys and men are just they're naturally more opportunistic, and they like to push boundaries and but Jordan Peterson said, it's a 60-40 split, which isn't much difference. Like 60% of men are disagreeable, but 40% are agreeable, while 60% of women are agreeable. So you're getting 40% of men that are basically quiet, passive, like women are, generalistic, in a generalist way. But so those 60% of men, they're the ones that are going to push the boundaries and take the risk, and they're not raping women, but they're it's like they're the ones really wanting it. I guess girls do too. I can only think of my own experience and my friends. We want relationships, we want feelings, closeness, and all that crap. And boys and men, it's more of a physical experience. But this is as young people, as we're all maturing together. Men want relationships, they want more depth of things, and their children changes them. So legally, maybe we haven't even looked into it properly, but maybe the universities are going to flip now, where people will actually research the legal system, and do men act? Is it actually true that it's bias against them? Like there's sort of more anecdotal evidence. A lot of men saying, "Well, I went to court and I lost my kids." And
did you guys hear about that course promoting Australian culture?
Clause?
Do you know what happened to that course?
Course.
Like doing a course at uni.
No.
Yeah, did you guys hear about that course?
No.
I knew there was a course about domestic violence.
Obviously, the left assisted.
It's like, what do you learn how to do domestic violence?
In Western Australia.
Yeah, teach men not to rape. Yeah.
Yeah. the West Australian website is a beauty, because when I got chucked out of the house, I was just looking for somebody to talk to about getting some legal representation. And there's in WA that there's, you know, Men's Health for Domestic Violence. They'll redirect you to a site, not for any resources for men, but for men who have, you know, perpetrators of domestic violence.
Yeah.
So, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful and tragic.
Do you guys
we're not
remember
individuals
when
anymore. You're just a conglomerate of, okay, you know, not slightly more. I mean, there's quite a bit more men perpetrators, but something like 70-30. But there's still 30% of all domestic violence is men being abused by women. 30%, probably more. I think it is 37. I don't know. Like it changes. It could be 50-50 in the end. You know, who knows? Like
it's a lot higher than they would have you believe.
I would say it's 50-50 because there's a balance. I don't know. I'm more philosophical these days. Like the world has to balance out. So men are more physically stronger. Women learn to kind of get their power from passive.
Nagging, which is violence. Every relationship I've had, if that could be termed in the strict Duluth model, that would be women's violence perpetrated against me. Just freaking nagging, manipulation, silent treatment,
you kind
chipping away at your soul.
Violence.
You start,
Women, I reckon, I'd hesitate to say women are the biggest abusers of children as well. And the whole shit show's just going to come crumbling down. And I feel for the average woman. I really do. I don't feel for feminists. They can do what they want to do, you know. Good luck to them because they're heavily relying on
I
the
feel
efforts
for
of men, so it's not a self-supporting thing. They just say, we're not quite there yet. So what they mean is like men in gulags, totally cucked and submissive, handing everything over so women don't have to work. Because isn't it a woman's greatest dream is to have a life without any work? If not have to work?
I heard that the most violent demographic is lesbian.
Isn't it?
Well, working is
well,
the women that have a career, they like their jobs.
Your Honor.
I wouldn't like to clean toilets or, you know, I was going to get a job, you know, wiping old people's asses. That's basically what you did in aged care. And that's what so many women my age without experience, you know, because that's our whinge, you know, that I had kids, I didn't get experience. And it's not, I mean, that is what happened, but that's kind of my life and many, you know, a kind of a common thread because, well, I don't know why. I mean, I was also in a very conservative Christian church for a while because I got off drugs and, you know, chose my husband's religion. And now I'm like, I love going to his family gatherings and saying, oh, I'm either a Catholic or an existentialist. And we almost start, it's sort of joking, but like we're like Northern Ireland now. I'm the Catholic, you know, going, oh, your father and his bloody, you know, Protestant literalist values and there's no romance left. You know, it's just about, you know, like that Monty Python, The Meaning of Life, where the Catholics are having all the babies, but they're all full of love and in their poverty, but the Protestants are just cold-hearted English. You know, we could make love all day, but and she's like, oh, could we? Oh, but you know, he doesn't. He just sits there in his chair. The Protestant work ethic.
Any time is good, it says in the Bible. There was
we lived on the dole in the 90s. You could live on the dole. And the punks were like, the dole is your right. And I remember going, oh, great. So I'd just sit on the dole.
Yeah, it was an arts grant. I think Michael Hutchins even said that about, you know, when he got big in excess, he said, the sausage roll was great. Helped him, helped me. Yeah. I think a lack of gratitude, real lack of gratitude. Like all these courses, it seemed, and people doing, I think, my God, a real lack of gratitude. Like I said, when we first come to Australia, all I could smell in Australia was the smell of boiled mutton and rotten cabbage. And kids smelled of sweat and stale ginger nut biscuits. And polio, they just got rid of that. And also diseases, beriberi, scarlet fever, rickets, mumps, measles, chicken pox, the whole freaking gamut. My oldest brother got polio, but not as bad enough where he could join the army and go and kill commies. But I tell you what, how life progressed really well from the smelly old 60s. Was a lot of asbestos around and people just burning stuff in incinerators and plastic, to where it got civilized, to where we really got to a really good place in the 80s and 90s. And I think kids, of course, kids being kids, I can remember, you just think of adults, you think you boring old farts. Like my parents came through the Depression and the Second World War, and he thought, you boring old farts, you're just living like your parents, of like that thing you're talking about of, you know, the Catholic family with tons of kids and just heaps of stress because you have to do it. To the point now where I was living in Fairfield 1990, and there was lots of Greeks and Italians around there, and I was just walking around like this, basically paisley shirt, leather jacket, playing in a band, making films, working part-time on the sausage roll, and all these Greeks saying, why you're not married? And I said, because I don't have to be. Like, God, like, and I sort of missed it because I had a house that looked comfy on the inside, but I also remember that real tedium of that nuclear family thing, how tedious and how just mind-numbing it is, unless you get with the right person where you go to another level. Yeah, it was freaking boring. Why you not married? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know, you work bloody fucking 40 hours a week at Dunlop for some shit job for some wankers that don't give a shit about you, and you could lose it all anyway. And now it's just not worth doing it all, and people got a real ingratitude, so they've run out of things to bitch and moan about. I think Douglas Murray was talking about St. George when he slew the dragon, you know, chop the dragon's head off, job done. And he spent the rest of his days like just going around, just slashing at the air, you know, like nothing left to fight for. But amen, women, Hebrew.
Well, like, you know, hearing individualism.
It's so petty.
Individualism is the worst thing, and I'm like, individualism is kind of what we need. I mean, you know, there's of course negatives to it. We all need to look inside ourselves and like, because we're all seem to be still fucked up. I think it's an existential thing. And that was interesting how you were saying nihilism. I wonder if, I don't know, someone like me that discovers existentialism, it's just pure freedom. I'm like, what? Oh, I don't have to follow rules. You know, I can choose what I want to believe in or not believe in. I don't really have a fixed identity. Life's always shifting. It's like what I've tried to be in the punk era, but that was all about fitting in and having cool hair or whatever. But this is like pure freedom. But then people are still being nihilistic. I just wonder if there's more boys and men becoming nihilistic because they always knew they were free in a way, even though they're told to marry. Girls are kind of told to marry, I don't know, by force, and men are told to marry. It's your duty to ask someone to marry you. So you're forced by duty, but as a woman, you're kind of forced. Well, in the old days, probably not now so much, unless you're in one of those cultures. Although if you're in Australia, they kind of bet on the fact that migrants, every generation gets less like their old country and more Australian, which is just, it's kind of a free place, really, even though we don't seem to have the same freedom of speech. I don't know, because we're looked after, I guess. It's a good standard of living, except, you know, our black people are kind of confined to the Northern Territory where you don't see them in Melbourne. We just pontificate.
Oh, I think New South Wales has the highest proportion of Indigenous population.
But they're living in the cities.
A few in town.
Yeah?
I would have thought that would have been the Northern Territory.
Well, that's probably where most of the trouble is. The Troubles, Northern Territory, and the. Well, then you've got Arnhem. Sorry, I should know. Being a lefty, Arnhem Land.
Yeah, Arnhem Land.
I know all about it. No, I don't.
There's a lot of places you need permission to go into. I think Avi Yemeni did a good video about with some Indigenous people. He went up to Burke to do some COVID thing at a bloke pub owner, and he talked to a few Indigenous women, and they're just saying, he's saying, what do you think about all this? Change the date and cancel Australia and ban Australia Day. And they said, well, we got more important things to worry about, i.e. the alcoholism and the violence within our own communities.
Yeah.
And just that narrative's just not talked about. Or if it is, it's sort of like, oh, more funding, white man bad, oppression, oppression. And I just get the feeling, the more we hear about frickin' slavery and oppression and all the goddamn massacres, it's just getting you used to the idea of like white man bad, like whacking you down. So you just got to become more pliant, more guilt-ridden. And so it's easy to distract resources around you. And Troy was talking about like BLM and Antifa rioting in Portland. They're still doing it. The same day when they smashed a window at the Capitol, storming. And you can get lots of different footage from all sorts of people. Say you get like, NBC, they'll be like, oh, Orange Man bad, all these white supremacists in there. And you get one from, there's a bloke called Donut Operator, who's an ex-cop who gets cop videos, cop footage, body cam stuff.
Donut.
And then you show cops being beaten up and sandwiched in the crowd. Then you see another cop in another section, the crowd grabbing this cop and putting him through, keeping away from this violent element and helping him get back to his own lines, to his own people.
That's crazy.
This was a
crazy. It's still happening.
He's good. Yeah,
the media aren't
you've
showing
got veterans there, and they want to keep the police. Only idiots want to defund the police. And the people that want to defund the police have their own private police anyway.
Fox News, I don't know. They're kind of clueless. Like,
conservative.
who? I mean, I suppose if you're in Portland, like America is just so different to Australia. They've got 50 states. Each one has their own news. Mainline news service. Each state is like a whole of Australia. No, well, I don't know.
There are 50 little countries.
Yeah, and the same day that the Capitol riots were going on, in Portland, there was a group of 50 people dressed in black. They seem to love trashing Starbucks. Starbucks are woke. But they smashed multiple windows. There's more windows broken in Portland that day than there was in Washington. Probably a lot less people killed, but
that makes the legacy media even more of a joke.
Pardon?
That makes the legacy media even more of a joke. The fact that it's still happening and it happened the same day.
But they didn't cover it at all.
Yeah,
it's like the only news happening is COVID in Queensland. So
just Orange Man bad.
I mean, I watch YouTube, but then I don't seem to have that many. There's only about 10 different people that come up on YouTube that are kind of like the daily news. One of them's a TERF. She's a bit annoying from the UK. She's a radical feminist, Posey Parker. I mean, it's always interesting. It's always interesting.
I've been looking at leftist stuff lately because I'm trying to think if there's anybody saying anything new or insightful or honest, basically honest, not talking about like men talking over women or anything like that, like for the 50 millionth fucking time, or Orange Man bad to the 50 millionth fucking time, but something new, something progressive. They're anything but progressive, aren't they?
New. Well, every time I watch kind of a new Joe Rogan or I don't know, like Steve Crowder's gone too conservative, but he's very useful to listen to. So I forget because I go, oh, he's just kind of, well, he's exposed to who he is, which is good. He is who he is. He's a Christian. He's a pro-lifer. He's a little bit black and white, but he started that Change My Mind segment, which is the greatest thing I've ever seen, I reckon. So every time I go back to him, he's bringing up something new, I guess, about the left.
Change My Mind. Yeah, sitting down having a sober, rational debate. Is he trad cuck?
So
I can't get used to his voice. I sort of just seems to be a bit Canadian for me or something. I don't know. Nothing against Canadians. Hard.
Isn't that weird? He's very animated. You'd think Canadians would be quiet, reserved, but they're very out there, and a lot of comedians come from Canada.
He might have been born in Canada, but he's more American than he is Canadian.
Yeah, right. Yeah. With his cigar, and I don't know, like his jokes, because he's a comedian. So I guess they're going to make fun of things. Bill Burr is just the pinnacle of anti-feminist jokes, and they're not anti-feminist. It's just, questioning. Yes, motherhood's the motherhood is. They hear it from Oprah. Motherhood, the hardest job ever. And then Bill Burr's like, "Oh, really?
You just put the DVD on or something, yeah."
And then he talks about why.
Because he got married to a black woman. He's not down
racist.
And he says she's really funny. Like she's funnier than a lot of
women go through.
She's funnier than a lot of comedians he knows, and I think it's because she gives him a lot of shit, but he finds that funny because he's giving people shit. He wants people to give him shit. I mean, it's not like men just stop, just be nice and kind. That would be the worst thing if men just lay down and were passive. You see them everywhere. Like I know a few, they're kind of closet alcoholics or something, porn. They've got to have something to make them happy before they neck themselves, because it's that depressing that they've got their woman and they're either going to be alone and free or with this woman who takes care of them and they take care of her and they've got kids or whatever. I don't know. Could they ever just start talking where, I don't know if, before when I was like that, if Aaron would have a conversation, I'd just go off my brain. I used to throw things at the walls. He'd just stand back and I remember just wrecking the furniture and I pulled down the blinds one day. It's just so different. And I think a lot of women are just like that. You're just full of anger and rage. And men might be in their own way. Who knows if we can get, we've had a couple of men and if people would just comment, a couple of words for our video. Nah, this is too much just to speak openly. It's too much for people. What are we saying that's so terrible? We're just speaking our mind. It's not even true, a lot of things. I look back on everything I say. It's not that I think it's all bullshit, but,
Well, in my experience...
words can never explain. Yeah, anyway.
My experience being when I was a male slut, or when I had a lot of...
Were you?
Oh, God. I'm going to open up a Pandora's box of worms.
Everyone probably...
What I noticed about women was just this constant shit tests. And if there wasn't any shit tests, there'd just be drama and just create drama. Just these shit tests to see if you'd be congruent to her desire to have power and control over you. And once you got it, she hated you for it. Sometimes you just feel a bit of confidence that if she finally got it, she still wouldn't be happy. There'd still be more and still be more.
Well, they want you to be a man then. So if they've got power over you, then you're boring or something. I don't think I was really... I did have one relationship like that. I don't know. I just thought he didn't want to think intellectually. So he liked his job. He liked good music. We'd smoke bongs together, but he was shorter than me. It's funny how that physical height thing is so important on Tinder. It's probably like metaphorical of a shorter man.
Isn't it the 666? 6 foot, or more, 6-figure salary, and 6-pack abs.
Never heard.
And what are they? 5-10% of men.
I never liked the muscles.
I've always had girlfriends that shorter than me. Like I'm not 6 foot, but I've got hazel eyes and devastatingly beautiful blonde locks and movie star good looks. That's as humble as I can be about myself. And I've found it's just the gift of gab.
Yeah.
I've seen this junky, acne, dreadlock, knit-infested dreadlock white Rastafarian be the 80s version of Chad Thundercock. He even, there was a girl I really fancied, and but the hippie commune, and he just came in and just played the Chad role, and I was down on confidence that time and lost out. You know, there was a while out, I think, from having a feminist girlfriend who would just pound and pound and pound you, never be happy, and just more pounding. And there was some female magazine that had mere male in it. Every week it would have this thing of mere male, you know.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that.
Like you can't operate a vacuum cleaner, you know, and you know this bloke's a freaking mechanical engineer. But she loved him for it, the inept way that he operated the vacuum cleaner or tried to, you know, fix a sewing machine or something, and she would just go, "Ugh." And that would happen all the time. She would read it out all the time, and I was thinking, "Ooh, well, I've been a bit of a knuckle dragger, a bit of a PUA in my younger days." Because
you're saying beta males, women hate them, but if they're active, if they're like doing things, you know, or if they talk a lot, there is, I don't know if I don't know what is a beta male, but you know, they're not alpha males, but they talk a lot, they'll do the work, and I think a lot of women like them. And then the women around me that say, "Oh, there's no good men," they go after
no man is
looking guys that have some good looks, that try and, you know, they try and sell that one quality they have, that they look good, but they're totally, well, yeah, not totally. They're not intelligent enough, and they kind of know it. If they were honest, maybe, and I don't know.
Did you see?
It's too many
that Fox presenter video that went viral?
No.
Tommy Lahren.
Oh yeah.
From Fox. She's sort of a trad cuck.
Yeah.
And she had that PSA.
He's our president. Was that one about like we hate we hate democracy? Something like they're against everything, they're just for the president. That was her latest tweet.
That was about her female friends and her.
Yes, yeah, that one. She had this shopping list. We're like 35, a lot of women like me, and men are trash. Men in this country are just trash. Doesn't matter if they're in Texas or Nebraska or New York, they're trash.
Really?
And she had this whole shopping list of what she wants from a man. And she's saying, bloody men, they're all just chasing after women in their early 20s, which men being men, the reproductive instinct is strong. You want the subconsciously or the primal brain. Sorry?
She's kind of a blonde, bimbo-looking young woman, isn't she?
Yeah, with this whole shopping list of demanding men step up. You know, make sure you're not, angry. You know, if you contact us, make sure you're not dating somebody else. What else was there, Troy? It was
don't waste her time. You know, me and my friends' time.
Because we got things going on. Anything, sure, but what the biological imperative is that women have less eggs after 25 or so. Their eggs start to reduce, and so does their look, their SMV.
It's not about children.
In the manosphere, sexual market value. And that make these listed demands and jumping up and down that men must man up or step up is totally unrealistic, because the beauty is fading.
Well, they can keep it up for a while.
Yeah, and
plastic surgery and money.
Like my daughter, she had the same sort of thing, like a go to London in her 20s, like get into drugs, go to London, go to Oktoberfest, go to Greece, go to Holland on the weekends, party, and then in the 30s, baby rabies kicks in, and she thinks, well, and I'm thinking, is that really baby rabies? Is that real instinctual thing that you want to have a kid now? And so she got a Chad, and of course he did the Chad thing and pump and dump basically.
But she married an Indian guy or someone.
Yeah, it was a
Indian?
real entrepreneurial bloke, but there was a real cultural difference.
Is this the same one?
Yes, yeah. He wasn't actually. He was a Chad. He was a sort of a Chad, entrepreneurial anyway. Yeah, quite alpha, quite a go-getter. But there was a cultural difference, and I said to her that everything in life you can never do enough research on it, especially if you're going to be taking a husband. But she didn't have to, because she'll get the better end of the deal anyway if they separate. And of course, it blew apart because of cultural differences. That his father died, so the mother comes and lives with him, and the mother was just a old style memsub who just went through all her stuff and tried to control her. And I'm back in India. It's not uncommon for the monster-in-law to beat up the wife, have them right under the thumb and just grind them down to a hamburger. And so
has she matured? Seems like she's done so much with her life. Like I don't know. I'm just because I was a very shy, introspective person. You're always observing, and I mean, I probably didn't learn that much in my 20s and even 30s. Like actually learn and take it on and become a mature person. But can you see her maturing, or she's just going to sort of stay?
No. The biggest ambition was not to work. Which is a theory I have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to work, but I want to be self-sufficient.
I rest my case.
I want to I don't want to work because I'm not a socialist, I'm not an anti-capitalist. I wanted to do what the fucking permaculture punk crowd from the 90s said they were going to do. I was expecting Gippsland to be full of communes and music and people making shit out of wood and craft, and you just do and they are doing it. You can make jam and sell it at the market, and probably I just need enough for my yearly rates and
play a didgeridoo with the markets.
Yeah, I mean, so that is work. I just don't want to
twirling.
I don't want to go to work, although that's not true. I'm a social isolator, so if I got a job in a cafe I would take it now. I feel like I'm getting this confidence that I've never had before, and that having a part-time job, which would be all I need out here, because it's quite cheap living, and you just use what you have. Yeah,
and not having to go at you or anything like that. I mean,
I had to think about it. I had to think about it. I don't want to work. I don't want to be stuck in a 9 to 5. That's death. But it's also that addict thing, like addicts, and what my current partner had to silently just suffer through work to support his family and not say anything because, I wasn't communicable. I couldn't be communicated with. And I was just as mad
God help me if he wants to not work anymore, because that's a thing of expected of a man. Just that's why the majority of the custody cases are awarded to the woman to have custody of the children, because the men work more. They're just, I always say that word, hardwired to work and provide, protect, everything like that. And that's what I want to say. Feminism has set men free because, that no longer counts anymore. Chivalry doesn't count anymore. You'll see a lot more cases of chivalry. I see it every day if I go into town, of men being chivalrous to women, opening doors for them.
Yeah, it's like all that feminist crap
helping them
went
lift
out the
things.
door.
Yeah, but it no longer applies, because you can get cussed out for opening a door for a woman. I've had a lot of women just don't even look at you if you open the door for you, or just
I thought you were going to
ferals
say
like curse you, and I think, well, okay, no worries. You wanted equality? Here, have it.
Because you said you've seen chivalry, and I'm seeing it too. I don't know.
Yeah, more than actual oppression.
But I don't go to the city anymore. I mean, I don't know. The city's so like, where do you think these people that would abuse someone for opening the door? I mean, unless they're like, I don't know, hairy armpits and blue hair, like, you know.
I even heard on the radio the local
I can open my own door.
Commercial station, somebody ringing in saying open the door for a woman. You sound like an average bloke. Open the door for a woman. She cursed me saying, "Oh, I can open the door myself." He said, "Well, shall I stop doing it?" And they said, "Oh, no, don't," you know, because they're all simps. And I'm thinking, well, women wanted equality. They didn't rail against these people that started saying, "Don't hold the door for me, you're oppressing me." They didn't rail back against it. And that's the thing. I don't think women, the average woman, took any responsibility or even cared. Just looked the other way and went on with it. Then all of a sudden it's up to men to step up or something like that. And they're not going to. I think more and more are not going to. Why should they? Why should they?
That proves, obviously, you know, that, well, why cater to them? You know, why facilitate for them?
Yeah, because feminism is just a new Jim Crow. It is. It is.
If they can never be pleased,
it is.
Why bother?
I don't really know who they are. I guess because I'm kind of an outsider. Like, I'm, you know, we all try and get our evidence from our experiences. I just haven't been around these kind of feminists. I've only just sitting in the classes in gender studies. That's ground zero probably. So I'm seeing where it's being manufactured, but I just can't, you know, I would never hang out with those women because it's so bizarre, you know. Like, you just have friends. They're men, they're boys, they're girls. We just hung out with whoever in high school, and it didn't, you know, unless, you know, a boy liked a girl, then you're kind of having those relationships. Otherwise, you're just in friendship groups. You know, there was no kind of we've got to be feminist about it. I don't know, you know. The 90s, it seemed to work, 80s and 90s. Girls could do what boys could do within reason, you know, like, and no one was out joining the front lines in any war. That's kind of, I mean, unless, I don't know, women could probably do that, maybe not, because they're probably a bit slower or whatever. They shouldn't be out in the front lines getting killed. No human. So, you know, it doesn't make sense anyway. But what else can't women do? Nothing. In the 80s and 90s, we just kind of went out and did whatever, or not. I didn't do anything. I chose to chase boys and oppress myself.
Yeah, and
you go and look at the oppressive types, and then you get oppressed by them. Although, you know, I was probably lucky not to get beaten up or anything. But you see not certain girls, I don't know, you just, I don't know, the worst ones are probably too good to be true. So a guy will present himself and he's just too good to be true, but for some reason you've got no idea of what a good man or a balanced, normal human being is like, so you fall for it. And then suddenly you're in this abusive relationship that you can't get out of. So I haven't really done that either. But I've willingly been with someone who had a traumatized, he was bullied senseless and, you know, just had a bit of violent tendencies, especially when he was drunk. And yeah, you'd be on the receiving end of it. And then I'd choose to stay with him. So that's kind of in me to change, not to go.
I was like that with my brother, that if it just suddenly happened the next, you know, you went to bed and everything was all pretty cool. The next day, it's all of a sudden there's drunkenness and abusiveness, like it's a shock. Yeah. But did you notice it just crept in bit by bit? I noticed that with my brother, that when he split up with his wife, we had a band going, but after that split, he just went on this slow descent into hell. And I was living with him, and his wife had split up, and then she died not long after of a brain tumor. So his son came and lived with us. And I was doing less hours, so I was taking care of him. And then I feel like I was manoeuvred into the mother situation, the hostage. And he went on a day shift. He was drinking more and he'd come home from work with a bottle of whiskey half drunk and just start ranting and just start simping and manipulating and being needy and can we do this and can we do that? Can we do this? And
to you,
like hiding behind me, but at the same time deriding any ideas that I had and putting shit on me. And I just felt like a hostage, and I just started getting really furious.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money to leave and there was nowhere to go. So I just put up with it until it finally just exploded. And he called him a cunt, and he threw one of those heavy whiskey tumblers at my head, and I just ducked in time.
Wow.
And I should have got up and belted him, but he was just that furious that, that saying, you don't kick a fresh ship on a hot day.
Fresh ship on a hot day.
Yep, you don't kick a fresh steaming turd on a hot day.
Oh, kick
so
a
I
fresh.
backed down, but I later challenged him to a fight, and he wouldn't fight
fresh
me.
Shit, not
coward.
ship. Sorry, I missed that.
But I know that feeling of being taken hostage by a male, drunken male. It's fucking horrible, especially when your own brother and you've been emotionally blackmailed and manipulated. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, the violence of men on men is a thing as well. Oh, there's Melody. Oh no, that's the cat. Got to feed my child.
No worries. You want to pause for an ad break?
Yeah, we probably
Stop
should
recording.
end it for tonight because I've still only got one kid and.
We've been talking 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, Troy. Yeah. No, we'll do more because it seems like we do little bits and then we don't get much in, but we should just sort of. I'd like to hear more about Troy's. All of our generations, and you being a millennial, but sort of an older millennial.
You're Generation X, yeah?
Yeah, it seems like there's different types, like Gen X from the early 90s, and then there was the 80s Gen X's, and then there's the late 90s Gen X's, apparently.
Yeah, I think the millennial generation starts, 1985?
Mango Melody? We'll have dinner. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, when does the millennial generation start exactly? Like 1980?
Well, my daughter is one. She's 23. She was born 97.
So a late millennial.
You're a late.
No, she would be.
Oh, you're late.
And I like all of it. I like all of it. What's that film director Fritz Lang? He used to say it's important for creative people, or people in general, to reflect the times.
Yeah.
And to embrace the I suppose the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. And I've always liked it. Like even now, I love it now, and I can look back on the old days with any sentimentality, because I realise it had its advantages and shortcomings as well. And now it's really good. It's just that ingratitude I was talking about, people just bitching and moaning. And it's good having this, I self-identified as a, a Karen soccer mum today, but you're going through that bloody boomer era, like the tail end of all that crap of having nuns and tribe and all that crap
kind
and
of a little
regular
bit with the
beatings
boomers.
and warts and superstitions and all that sort of fuddy-duddy old stuff, to now where I think it's pretty free now as we approach this bloody slavery, technocrat slavery. It's pretty free now.
But then look at all the people going to live on their homesteads. It seems to be America more. Is it happening in Australia? Like you did it. What do you call that?
Getting the fuck out.
Is there free
self-preservation? Avoid relationships. Avoid dating.
The roads are really good. There's really good shops.
Lot.
There's enough shops out here. The roads are good. Like the 80s, 70s, the roads. You look at all the new roads that have been built recently, and I don't know.
Gippy's got the worst roads.
What are they all doing? All those lefties, all the people that did a permaculture design course. You can pay up to $3,000, go and stay with the guru in Tassie or wherever he is, northern New South Wales. and they don't do anything with it. Although maybe they all are in New South Wales. I don't know.
Well, it's not important, but I had to laugh when I talked to Aaron. When I had that job cleaning toilets and I was collecting all the leftover rolls, and he said, "Why are you doing that?" And I was saying, "For the war." And sure enough, last year when the Chinese surprise started, they're all buying up on toilet paper. I should have kept it. It would have been pretty mouldy by now.
I think
but I've been thinking there's something this has got to crack eventually. People are so ungrateful. They're not employing the best and brightest. They're not getting good leaders. There's not good leadership anymore. There's just all this dunderhead that's allowed all this woke progressivism cancer to spread. We could have knocked it on the head in the 80s and 90s when it was starting to come in.
Yeah, but how could you have done it? That was when postmodernism came in, when there was no truth.
Windows and burning places down like Antifa.
Because there was no truth, postmodernism. But now, obviously, there is truth, because with feminism and woke, they try and bring in statistics and science just to back up their points. But you can just sort of quote any set of statistics, or like you compare things. I don't know, compare this to this, and this is why this is happening. I don't know, I don't know, comparing BLM riots. I mean, I guess it is the same thing, but it's also different. So at least we've got the commentators going through all the complexities of it. But yeah, I guess basically it is true.
It's all tangled and neurotic. On one hand, they'll say, science is the patriarchy and it's racist and it's exclusive. And
I thought they loved science.
That was the critical theory.
Believe the science, or all this junk science. And statistics, that's from the patriarchy as well. That's harming people that are not educated.
So believe the science, but science is racist?
Yeah, maths is racist. Milk is racist.
Misogynistic.
That are OK symbols like KKK. There's just... It's got to such a neurotic thing now. And you talk about generalising. I remember in the 90s, I was playing in a band and there was their sisters or girlfriends are all going to uni and they're all saying, well, that's such an entirely subjective opinion. And that's really generalising. It really went out of vogue and now it's back with a vengeance. Like, men are bastards, men are rapists, boys will be boys, men need to step up, men need to man up.
I reckon men need to stop raping. The extremes have presented themselves. Like the radical feminists now are either TERFs or they're Clementine Ford's crowd, who are the inner city, cafe kind of, look at my tits, I can do whatever I want, slut walk and all that stuff. They're the extremes. I reckon that we're kind of sick of it. Just like you got BLM having riots, then you've got the far right having their attempted, take it. Oh, I don't know. They weren't attempting to take over. They just wanted to stop the steal. It was what their intention was. But they just seem to be the extremes. And now we've seen. I mean, this is just my being optimistic that we're just trying shit out, because it's like the whole world doesn't know what's going on. Or we're shifting our values. Who's the English guy again? Douglas Murray. I kind of think I probably follow what I don't know if he believes in it. He's just putting forth ideas. Like, it's an optimistic thing we're going through. We're just trying things out. We're overstepping the mark a bit. Feminism's overkill. What do you call it? They went over the line, and but yeah, society as a whole, we don't accept it because we just live normally. We don't want to push our men away, or we've seen too many of them die and commit suicide and suffer in other ways.
Did I tell you about my stupid neighbours?
Yeah,
this gay man angry at Trump because he doesn't like open borders, and I said, well, you lock your house though, don't you? He goes, yes. And I think, you fucking retard. If you haven't worked that out, retard. futures have to do with this virtual signaling where every conversation has to end up with white man bad. And I'm saying, have you consulted the Indigenous people what they think about having fucking open borders in the West? Because I was at this Catholic bloody centre today, and there's a little plaque out the front, you know, raising awareness about the first steps that were taken here, you know, acknowledge that the first steps were taken here. And I'm thinking, you benefit well out of this, you fucking bastards. You've built all this place on the backs of labourers, built all these fucking churches. Now you put these plaques up to rub our noses in it. Like, I'm just fucking sick of it. It is just retarded.
The first
and
steps.
I think, yeah, it might trigger me, but in a way I'm free of it, that I don't have to take on that stupid white guilt and have to bleat along with people saying, white borders, open borders, you know, but hanging, you know, let a whole lot of people invade, but you're also shitting on people, the white invaders. Like, how ridiculous is that? Yeah. How ridiculous. And London and Birmingham are no longer